Controversy is far from over. Now, we wanted to hear directly from the citizens of Arizona, so we sent Frank Luntz there for a very special focus group made up of both supporters and opponents of this measure. Frank.
We are really at ground zero of this immigration debate. Let me show viewers at home where the people here in Arizona stand. How many of you support the immigration law? Raise your hands. And how many of you oppose it? Now, nationwide, Sean, it's almost what we have right here. It's 51-39. But in Arizona, it's about 70% who support it. Why? Dan?
We just want to enforce the federal laws, and we want to live in a crime-free area. We don't have a problem with legal immigration, but we just want people to follow the laws like everybody else in this country.
Right now, there are so many Americans out of jobs, and we're letting all these people in here that are taking those jobs. And why are we doing it? The law is the law. Enforce the law. The feds aren't.
Crime happens from either illegal and legal residents of this country. We need to stop it at the border so that I can not get the traffic through the guns, the drugs, and all that. I mean, if you stop it at the border, that's starting at the heart of the problem.
So what is so wrong with enforcing the law?
Because things like State Bill 1070 is political grandstanding at the expense of Mexican and Hispanic Americans. And it is wrong. It is absolutely wrong. It is putting these people and taking their liberties away, and it's not right for us to take their liberties away because people are sick of illegal immigration. You think that the liberties are being taken away? What about, how many of you are afraid of crime in this state because of illegal immigration? That has nothing to do, being afraid of crime, illegal immigration has nothing to do with asking someone for their birth certificate after a crime stop.
This does not solve the crime problem in this country. This is just going to create it more.
This is going to create crime. You agree with that?
They're turning this into a race thing, and it doesn't have anything to do with what your race is. It has to do with where you're from. If you're an American and you're a legal resident of this country, you have a right to be here. And if you don't, you need to come in the right way.
I'm sorry, people who are Hispanic Americans, who were born in Arizona, who were born in California, are Americans. They have every right to be here, just like I have a right to be here.
They have nothing to fear. They're legal.
That is not true. They have to fear when they get stopped by a cop. It is up to him to ask if they are legal citizens of the, and to show their birth certificate.
You're Hispanic. You're Hispanic, right?
I feel that this is all division amongst people. Besides, the bill isn't necessary to have funded or represented because it is causing division.
Well, illegal is not a race, number one, and Phoenix is now the kidnapping capital of the world. There's a way to do immigration right, and there's a way to do it wrong. It's being done wrong and needs to stop.
It has created a new racial tension against Hispanic people. It's a sad day when a 19-year-old Hispanic girl goes to work and is arrested at McDonald's and held for 13 hours for questioning. You can't say that is not a racial issue and there is no killing.
Renee, is it a racial issue?
Yeah, and I have to say I was there when the governor signed the paper, and I was scared to leave.
Why?
Because of the Hispanic folks that were around and acting violent, shooting fingers, saying bad words. This is what I...
Are you scared now because I'm Hispanic and I'm here? Let me pull my weapons from my bag right now. As far as, you know what? The jobs that they say they're taking away Americans' jobs. You know what? They don't take away the jobs from Americans. They're taking the jobs that Americans don't want. I never see any Hispanics standing on the corner. You know what? I never see any Hispanics standing on the corner with the "Will Work for Food" sign, but I do see whites standing there. You know, so they're just they're at Home Depot trying to get a job and trying to work somewhere.
The jobs that the Hispanics are filling are dishwashing jobs. Right. Maid service in the hotels. The food service industry would suffer terribly without Hispanics.
This is an insult to the legal Hispanic residents who have gone through the proper channels to get their citizenship legally. I think this is an insult to people who have come here to the country legally.
I think we need to start looking at what kind of aid are we providing them and maybe stop there.
Why don't we just stop the businesses from hiring them? If the jobs weren't there, people wouldn't come.
Are you Hispanic?
Yes.
Do you find this bill is a racist bill?
Yes.
Do you feel you're being discriminated against?
I do.
What do you say when Renee says she's afraid to walk out on the streets after the legislation?
Being Hispanic, I grew up being afraid to do a lot of things because of white people. The way they looked at me, the way they talked to me, I couldn't do a lot of things. I felt racism, but nobody else has felt it, and they're feeling it now. So welcome to our world.
Right. We were taken out of the state capitol in unmarked police cars. That's how afraid we were.
Do you see how? Do you see how this turned into Hispanic people against us, when the true fact of the matter is people are illegally coming into this country, and that needs to stop. We need to figure that out on a global level.
I just feel there has to be other ways.
It's just a way about getting about to it. We're not saying that let's let everybody come here and take over illegally. We're not saying that. We're just saying how they're going about it.
I mean, there has to be like either fight. I mean, there has to be different ways instead of pulling them over like jobs and.
Okay, here's what I got to get out. I'm going to ask you 2 questions by show of hands. How many of you are more afraid today than you were a year ago because of illegal immigration? Raise your hands. How many of you believe that the issue is illegal immigration, not legal immigration? Raise your hands. So there's a message there. Sean, you know, I've done this many, many times. This is one of the hardest groups to keep under control. I assure you that when we go to commercial, they're going to erupt. This issue isn't over. It has only just started.
Frank, now we're going to come back to you, Frank, coming up later in the show. And by the way, I have a couple of questions that I want to ask the group, so tell everybody when we come back to them later that I have a few questions, and we'll let them have the debate go on in the meantime. So we'll see Frank Luntz in just a few minutes.